If you need more money right now, and you're looking for ways to make more money from property without getting a mortgage, without having to buy a single property, this episode gives you all the answers. This was taken from a live Q&A Ryan held, and he takes you deep into the tactics that anybody can use right after listening to this episode to earn £3,000 PCM right now from property, using the most up-to-date property tactics built for the now that doesn't require you to buy a single property ever. Mastermind on Mondays. Every Monday at 10 a.m, Ryan hosts a live mastermind session in the Facebook community group called the Property Crash Course. Get your burning questions answered around business, entrepreneurship, property investment, and more. Just post your question, problem, or challenge in the community group and tune into the live show called Mastermind on Mondays at 10 a.m.
Okay, boom. There we go. So we're live now on multiple different platforms, multiple different streams. I'm Ryan Otto, the host of It's Just Business podcast on Apple Podcasts. Now, the purpose of this live right now is I've got a list of questions from you guys, entrepreneurs, investors, business people, at different stages of your journey in property. Some of you guys are just looking into property. Some of you guys are already in property making money and you're looking for other tactics, additional tactics that make money right now in 2020. So got some questions here from you guys that my team has printed out. I'm just going to read them out one at a time and give you as much value as possible, the best possible answer to help you in your business, ultimately give you more information and help you make more money right now. And hopefully this gives you some of the aha moments that would otherwise take you, a very long time to discover on your own. Okay, so I'm going to read the questions out right now and just give you guys as much value as possible. So first question is from Val, okay? So, hello, my name is Val Sin. I've recently seen your TikTok based on property and rent-to-rent agreements. I wanted to ask whether you could provide me with where I could find landlords, okay, who may be willing to rent their properties on a rent-to-rent agreement, please. Thank you so much. Okay, so first part of that is where can you find the landlords? Okay, so the best place right now, actually, it's not even right now. One of the best places to find landlords that are happy to enter into these agreements. There's one particular place that has never, ever failed to let me down. In fact, as of today, right now, I've already been on there. My team has been on there today, and we've also found some other property deals, okay? Even yesterday, this one platform I'm about to share with you right now. It's very simple. It's not a secret. It's in the public domain. Everybody has access to it as long as they know how to use it, okay? So I'm going to share this platform with you right now that as close as yesterday and today, we've been on there and potentially secured more properties on this type of contract, on this exact platform. Now, it's 100% free. It doesn't cost anything at all to be on this platform, and you will find the landlords with like a stake in the ground, waving their hands saying, I'm a landlord and I'm looking to rent my property, okay? It's that particular place that has never, ever let's just click this. We've got a notification come up here. Let me just click this. Sorry. 1 second. Okay, someone had to request to join the live, so I'm not sure what that is. It's on Instagram over here. Okay, so this platform has never, ever let us down. It doesn't cost anything at all. It's 100% free, and obviously you can just go on there straight away, okay? Now, this particular platform is called Gumtree. It's very simple. It's called Gumtree. It's a platform where it's a two-way marketplace, like an exchange, okay? So somebody posts something for sale, somebody looks on there to buy something. Somebody posts a property on there to rent, people go on there looking for properties. This is where landlords are posting their properties privately on the internet for people like you and my company and other people that want to make a real success of this strategy to replace their income or generate some more money or even a side hustle can literally just go to the platform. It's 100% free and search. Search in your area, search in the area that you're interested in. Just use the bar on the left-hand side. Make sure that you always click no agencies. So you click private. So now it gives you the private landlords advertising their properties to rent in that particular town. Now, all you guys need to do is just contact the landlord. You can ring them if they have their phone number displayed. You can email them if they have no phone number displayed. So whatever you prefer, to pick the phone up to call them, obviously you would need to know what to say, which isn't very difficult, or you would just email them. So if you find it better to call them first of all, if you find it better to email them first of all, instead of calling them, maybe you have a fear of picking the phone up, or maybe you're just not confident yet. So you can start and you can get confident later so you can pick the phone up. But at least to start, you can spend 5 minutes, 10 minutes, half an hour drafting a generic email that you would send to each landlord, asking them if they'll be happy to rent the property to you so you can use it on this basis. Now, I'm not going to go into the details right now of exactly what you need to put in the letter. You can Google that, you can find that on the internet, you can think about that, or you can ask me some questions and I can even send you a template. If you wanted a template to send to them, all you need to do is just comment below this video and I'll actually give you that template. It's like a script, which has never ever let me or my team down when we're looking for these types of deals. We always look for these types of deals. We've done many of these deals even recently during the lockdown. Okay, so I hope that answers your question, Val. Brilliant. Okay, the next question is from 97 Unknown. Okay, 97 Unknown. It said, how to profit from property, I want to know. Okay, that's very vague. How to profit from property, I want to know. Okay. Obviously, there's no background. I haven't got any context into where you are right now on this journey or in this business or in your life, or how much money you have or anything else to get started. So I'm going to keep it very simple. I'm going to start right at the bottom with the basics, okay? So I'm going to assume you haven't got a lot of money and you're just getting started, okay? Now, based on that, you haven't got any money or very little money and you're just getting started, okay? Now, how to profit from property? Now, there's many different property strategies, all the way up to building and developing, okay? And lots more in between, all the way down to just renting something from a landlord to create cash flow. Now, the easiest way for anybody to get into property right now in 2020, because when I got into property in the year 2000, 20 years ago, 2 decades ago, when I bought my first property in the south coast of England, it was nothing like this, okay? It was nothing like this. Okay, so I've got some questions from Gazla. I'll come back to you at the end to make sure that I answer that for you, Gazla, don't worry. Okay, so it was nothing like it is now, 20 years later, 2 decades later. The things that were available back then were very limited. You had to really be creative and think outside the box to get the competitive edge to make money from property and to find more property deals and to make more money, etc., and to build a company. Okay, now there's multiple different strategies, dozens of different property investment strategies. So what I would say is what's available to you guys right now to make money from property is so much easier, believe me, than it was when I started 20 years ago in the year 2000, 2 decades ago, okay? So right now, the quickest way to get into property and to make some money, which is ultimately what you want to do, is you don't want to have big lumps of money tied up. You don't want to be saving for 3 years to have a mortgage deposit. You don't want to be, you've missed the mortgage, you've missed the mobile phone bill payment, and now you can't get a mortgage because it's so difficult to get mortgages. Again, that's coming round again since 2008 because of the economic crash and everything else that's going on in the world. You don't want to be limited to where you can buy the property and then you have to wait for the capital growth and capital appreciation, and you've got to spend lots of money on solicitors' fees and everything else. Right, okay. So forget all of that. What you can do is still make the same amount of money or more from the exact same property without putting a deposit down, without paying a solicitor, without having to go through the rigmarole of getting a mortgage, applying for a mortgage, good credit, putting a deposit in, waiting for the solicitors to deal with the conveyancing. Maybe 2-3 months later, you actually complete the property and now you own it. Okay, then now you can make money from the property, okay? If you want to make money right now, and I mean quicker, faster, so you can scale, build a real business right now, make some money, get some cash flow in reality as soon as, okay, well, let me give you an example. We're looking at a deal from yesterday that we're going to potentially close today. I'll let you guys know if it goes through. It's actually 2 deals with the same landlord. And if we close that deal today, we can be making money from that property next week on Wednesday. Wednesday the 13th is when we'll be making money on that property straight away on the cash flow. So that particular type of deal is a property that we just rent. We just rent it, okay? So the easiest way to get into property right now is renting a property from a landlord who's happy to give you consent to then re-let that property, so it's not subletting, and anything above the market rent, anything above the rent that you pay to the landlord, you get to keep, okay? So anything above the rent you pay to the landlord, you get to keep. Now, there's a few different tactics and strategies that you can stack on top of that. The most important one is to secure the property first of all. Once you've secured the property at the market rent or a little bit below the market rent, okay, in exchange for the security that the landlord's getting, in exchange for no voids, in exchange for no hassle, in exchange for no evictions, in exchange for no fees, okay? These are some of the benefits, just some of the benefits to the landlord, why they would rent the property to you and let you re-rent the property to someone else. So let's just say you get it for £100 or 10% less than the market rent. Remember, if they use the letting agent, they will be charged at least 10% just to find or just to manage the property. Then they will be charged fees and commissions and everything else. And then there's voids and everything else. And then there's what if the tenant doesn't pay the rent, and what if they don't find a tenant for a month, okay? So when you're approaching landlords, you can actually sell the benefits of your strategy of why they should rent to you and how your offer is worth a lot more than any other offer they would get from an agent or if they did it themselves, okay? When you understand that concept or that mindset, you can quite comfortably agree and negotiate 10, 15, even 20% below the market rent with the landlord. So let's say it's rented at £1,000, you could come in somewhere around 900, even 850, and they're still better off renting to you because they have more money over the course of the year. No voids, no fees, no maintenance, okay? No hassle, no void periods, which is the most important thing. And no costs, no commissions, no setup fees, okay? So when you compare those two things, that's how you can get a margin off of the monthly rent, okay? So stacking on top of that, because you've reduced the monthly rent, by stacking another strategy on top of that, you could either rent the rooms, okay? But what we prefer, which works really well right now as well, even in 2020, during this economic crash, what works much better, which enables us to, every £1,000 that we pay, we can generate £3,000 in revenue, okay, every single month across the course of the year. Now, we've been consistent at this for the last 4 years, okay? This isn't just working right now. For the last 4 years, we've been documenting and consistently getting £3,000 for every £1,000 that we pay every single month. Now, that strategy is called service accommodation, you could call it. You can either put that property on booking.com, you can either put that property on Airbnb, or you can get direct bookings yourself from 1 night, 1 week, 1 month, okay? Now that enables you to pay the market rent or a bit lower to the landlord and then re-let that property for at least 199% more. That's our numbers, that's our stats. No guarantee you're going to get that. That's our stats for the last 4 years. If you want to see those stats, all you need to do is comment below and I'll send you an ebook which I created, which has got all of those stats all documented, okay? At least 199% we've been achieving over the last 4 consecutive years, okay, guys? So,
let me ask you a question. Are you and your family prepared for when the economy crashes and your bank balance goes to zero? In the aftermath of the 2008 property crash, I held a keynote talk in Piccadilly around property investment tactics that work when the economy crashes. And these tactics saved me in the 2008 crash. Let me share them with you real quickly. The first one is buying properties for £1 without getting a mortgage, without putting a deposit down, and without any credit whatsoever. The next strategy is finding properties with £25,000 to £50,000 of instant equity. The next strategy is buying a property today and paying for the property later when it's worth more, a lot more in the future. The next strategy is renting HMOs and student properties and any properties up to 75% below the market rent. This gives you massive cash flow right now. And then the next strategy is raising from £4,000 to £14,000 from properties that you just rent. This can be used as get started cash for whatever you want in your business. Now, I created a free training to walk you through the only strategies that will save your bank balance from going to zero. I'm serious. If you just go to www.propertycrashcourse.com and tell me where to send this free training.
that's what I would say to you right now is the easiest way to get into property. You don't need a deposit, you don't need a mortgage, you don't need to put big money down or much money down. Okay, it's very little money down. It's very fast. Like I said, we could close a deal today, some deals we're working on, and we could be making money from the 13th, literally, what's that, 3, 4, 5 days, middle of next week, okay? You could make money sooner, but as soon as we've entered into the deal, that's the day it will start, and we've got clients lined up to move in straight away from the 13th. So it will make money every single month. You could use that money to build up your cash pot, and then you can have a deposit. Let's just say you're netting, after all of your costs, let's say you're netting, I don't know, even £1,000 a month, okay, being modest. Let's say you net £1,000 a month, and you save that at the end of the year. That's £12,000. If you did that for a year or even 2 years, you then built up your cash pot for a mortgage deposit if you wanted to buy the conventional way. So this is a fantastic way for anybody to get started in property right now. Okay, I hope that answers your question. Okay, another question is Ashiwama 996. Okay, I love the 996. 996 is the model for the Porsche. Okay, now I'm a Porsche fanatic. I'm a Porsche fan. I always wanted to have a Porsche when I was younger. It was my dream car. And in my early 20s, I managed to buy a Porsche Carrera C2S 997. It's a model after this, the newest model, the latest. Well, that was back then. That was in my early 20s, okay? So really love the name, okay? Ashiwama 996, reminds me of the Porsche. Okay, anyway, don't waste your money on crap like that, okay? That's when I was young and silly and, wanted to, not to impress people. It was because I grew up with cars, I grew up with engines, I grew up with Formula One. I'm a Formula One fanatic. I grew up with motorbikes and fast motocross, all of that. So I was a petrol head. So my dream car was a Porsche 911 Carrera C2S, rear engine, rear wheel drive, definitely not four wheel drive, because I wanted the back to slide and get the side out and the back. When I was driving on track days, of course, not really on the road, that would be dangerous and against the law. And so I exchanged a Yamaha YZF R6, and I parked that in the garage when I had a son. And I thought, hold on a minute. Let me buy something equally as powerful, but in a car, which was my dream car, Porsche 911 Carrera 2S, T2S 997. And property is what enabled me to do that. So that was many years ago. I had my son. When did I buy it? When I had my son, and I had my son when I was 21 years old. Anyway, early 20s. Digressed a bit there. Okay, so Ashiwama 996. How do I make money if I have no money to invest? Okay, now I just touched on that a moment ago. How do you make money from property if you haven't got any money or little money, or the easiest way to get into property? So if you imagine, for you to generate or make around about £1,000 a month, depending on where you are, okay, in the country and how you run the business, okay, because it is a business, it's not a get rich quick thing. You do have to run a fully functional business, okay. So let's say it nets you £1,000 a month, okay. To get into one of these deals, it would cost you around 1 month's rent and then 1 month as a deposit, okay? So if you imagine the rent is £1,000 a month, you'd have to put £1,000 down, then you'll have to pay another £1,000 as the deposit. So let's just say that's £2,000 initially. You will have some other things to pay for, like bedding and linen and maybe some furniture if it's not furnished. So I'd always suggest to negotiate for it to be furnished, okay? Most landlords will either have it furnished or happy to furnish it if you paid a little bit more, okay? So let's say you paid them a little bit more money, they would happily furnish the property. So you could save spending $1,000 or $1,500 on furniture if you can just negotiate good and hard to get them to include the furniture or only look for furnished properties. Let's assume it's furnished. £1,000, 1 month's rent down, £1,000 deposit approximately, another month's rent, that's £2,000 into the deal. So you're into it for £2,000 to get started, not 20, 30, 40,000 if you're buying it. And then as soon as it starts making money, then you could be generating or netting at least £1,000 a month when it's done right. So £2,000 in, being modest, maybe a little bit more, okay, 2 to 3. And then every month you're into the deal, you would generate around about £1,000 net profit per calendar month. Now, if you've got no money at all, there's ways you can put things on credit cards just to get started if you've got a good business model and knowing the money's about to come in, or you could borrow it from a family member, that $2,000. Or you can maybe do a deal with the landlord on the first one and negotiate that you will run it for them, you will manage it for them, you'll set everything up for them, but you won't put any money in. You can get into your first 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 deals like this, which will cost you nothing at all. And you do a profit share with the landlord where you will do everything because you have the time. They won't do anything at all, but they have the money or the asset. You set it all up and then you share the profits. That could be 75, 25, 50, 50 makes sense. I would suggest you go in at 50, 50 above the market rent. So as long as the landlord gets his rent first, which he was asking for, then you would share everything above 50-50. That's very fair. It's a very fair way of doing a JV together, okay? Okay, the next question is Azan Sheik 74. Azan Sheik 74. So I'm on multiple different platforms here, you guys. So I'm looking here, I'm looking here, I'm looking here, I'm looking here. It's being streamed and recorded live for multiple different platforms, okay, guys? So coming back to your question, Azanshik 74, okay, hopefully I've pronounced your name correctly. You have said, what is a lease option agreement? Okay, a lease option agreement, to keep it very simple, is just a piece of paper. It's a contract, okay, which enables you to rent a property from an owner, someone who owns a property, enables you to rent the property. And it gives you, in this contract, in this piece of paper, it gives you the option to buy the property at any time in the future based on the date that you've agreed that goes in this piece of paper, which is called the lease option agreement. Think about it in 2 parts. One is a lease, exactly the same as a rental contract, you could say, or the same concept. It's written slightly different, but just think of it as a rental contract, a lease. Okay? One is a lease. That means you pay the rent and you get certain privileges to be able to live there, be able to rent the property, etc., access. And then you have the second part, which is the option. Now, the option is something where you agree a price today, and at any point during the lease, the first part, you're allowed to buy the property, which is exercising the option to buy it at any time in the future during your lease. So let's say you have a 5-year lease option. It's just a contract you enter into with a solicitor, which says you're going to pay X amount of rent today for the next 5 years. And the price agreed today is 150,000, it could be. And then at any time between today, when you sign this, and the 5-year period, you're allowed to buy that property at the price you agreed today, which in 5 years' time could be worth a lot more money. It could also be worth the same money. It could also be worth less money. Okay, something you need to look into.
Make sure you've subscribed, because tomorrow you'll get nothing but the truth on Tuesdays. Every Tuesday, you'll get nothing but the truth. This offensive and explicit episode covers current issues, trending topics, and more that will punch you in the face with the truth. If you can't handle that, don't listen, because Ryan does not hold back. And if you're up to no good, we're watching.
But that is a lease option. It's a very powerful strategy that we've used, back in 2008, when the credit crunch was upon us. It was very, very difficult to get finance, if at all. My company had been buying property, real estate, for many years already, since the year 2000. So nearly 8 years already buying property. We had a pool of investors. We had a team of up to 12 staff we got up to, and we was buying lots and lots and lots of properties, okay? Now, when the finance left the market, there was none left, or it was very difficult to get it, we had to come up with some other creative ways to buy property. Now, we work with some very good lawyers and barristers and legal teams and very smart people, some friends of mine, to put together or to make this lease option work for us. So we could still technically buy property, but in a slightly different way, where we don't have to go to a bank, we don't have to give them all the money, we don't need to get a mortgage. So it enabled us to do something different, which I learned from Robert Kiyosaki in the early 2000s, okay? He taught me how to leverage OPM, which is other people's money, and OPT, which is other people's time, okay? That's what got me started in property. All over my podcast, you'll hear about it if you listen to the podcast. It's Just Business on iTunes, or Apple Podcasts it's changed to now. So somewhere on this page, there'll be a link, or below this, click the link. You'll hear me talk all about Robert Kiyosaki, all about other money-making things that we've done from property and how you can get started and fast track, and go a lot deeper into everything else based on lots of different strategies that we've used that work right now to make money from property. So we came up with a version of the contract that really worked for us, and we used it from 2008 to secure as much property as possible fast, going quickly, you can imagine, because you don't have to buy it, you don't have to save for a deposit, you don't have to wait for the solicitors that takes 2-3 months to complete. So you could do a deal in literally a few days or a week. It was that quick. Find the deal, set the paperwork up, deal with the solicitors, everybody signs it, the house is yours. It enabled you to go fast and scale, okay? This has come back around again, this strategy, because it works a lot now, because you and us as the investors have all the leverage right now. When the market's falling, there's sellers which are looking for solutions, and they're more flexible to doing deals like this. When the market's rising, you can put the property on the market today. You could have 10 people interested in it next weekend. They could have 4 offers. Sometimes it'll even sell for above the asking price. So in a rising market, that's how it has been. In a falling market, you and I, the investors, the entrepreneurs, have all of the leverage, okay? It has to be fair, of course, but it means that you can do more deals. You can be more creative. You can structure better deals, especially along the lines of this that we're talking about. So I hope that answers your question. Okay. Lumina Verdi. I hope I pronounced your name right. Hi. So you rent the property, and then you let the property yourself for more money, right? But you don't live there. Okay, that's absolutely correct. Lumina Verdi. I have just answered that question, which many other people have asked as well in a similar way. So yes, we do rent the property using that strategy, and then we re-rent the property for a higher price by using arbitrage. Just adding value, taking it out of one market and puts it into a different market. Taking it out of the AST market and puts it into the short-term rental market like a hotel, okay? So I hope that answers your question. And no, we don't live there. We don't do anything like Airbnb where you rent the rooms. We don't actually live there, okay? It's completely empty. It's a whole property. Okay, and FK Hub, how to buy a house for £1. Okay, now my earlier answer, which I gave about the lease option, okay, is the answer to your question, FK Hub. So if you imagine that lease option that I spoke about, and I explained in depth earlier in this video, in this Q&A, that lease option, to make it legal and binding, okay, there has to be money that changes hands, okay? So through the solicitors usually, there's money that changes hands. To make it legal, it's at least £1. So when you're asking the question how to buy a house for £1, it's using the strategy, which is a lease option, and then it's putting £1 down to make it legally binding, okay? So if any of you guys have any other questions about property investment, some of the strategies I've spoken about today, some of the answers that I've given today, or any of my other posts on social, just comment below. Let me know your question. I'll answer the question on the next episode or on the next show or on the next live. Okay, so keep your questions coming, guys, on all of the different social platforms, wherever you find us or find me. And I'll make sure that every week we do a Q&A and answer all of your questions. Okay, guys. And yeah, make sure you head over to the podcast. It's Just Business. The link's below here. There is so much more content on there where I go deep and break down different strategies that we're using right now that are performing, that are making money, even during the coronavirus, different strategies we've used in the aftermath of the 2008 crash, the 2008, 9, 10, and then some other strategies that we've used as far back as the year 2000. So there's 2 decades of property investment strategies that I go deep and talk about in my podcast and have guests on there, and we do mastermind sessions and we give free things away to you guys. So there'll be a link on this page somewhere. You can listen to the podcast. It's completely free, and I'd love to hear your thoughts.
He's a #1 Amazon bestseller. He's an NLP manipulator. He's a property course seller. He's a Lamborghini driving multi-millionaire property guru. Forget that same old boring I am me narcissistic podcast format, because nobody gives a f***. This podcast is all about you. So I'm taking these few seconds to thank you for subscribing, to thank you for leaving your 5-star reviews, and thank you for sharing this show with all of your friends. My team and I will keep bringing you these episodes and answering all of your burning questions in my Facebook community group called Property Crash Course. If you can just keep telling all of your friends about this show.